Welcome back. This is Azrael. She's trouble. Pretty sure it's a she. This is the newest addition, and she's the reason that Bear doesn't look very happy right now. But it'll be fine. All right. So and I got this is my third take. So she's yeah. Anyways, scratched up my leg a little bit there, trying to get my attention in one of the first takes. So, the New York Rangers. Let's talk about the New York Rangers. Uh, the New York Rangers get all the way to the conference final. I don't know how many people expected that. Now, of course, my bracket, I had them out in the second round. They did beat Carolina to get to the conference final before losing against Tampa. I think the Rangers are a little bit ahead of schedule. And so their 52-24-6 record was excellent. The record going into the playoffs, 8-5-1. They had some setbacks here and there. They don't end up winning the division. Doesn't end up mattering in the end. They did win the games when it mattered. So they went down 3-1 against Pittsburgh. Came back and won 4-3 in that one. So 7-game series there. Then they fell behind against Carolina, 3-2. They won the 2 games they had to come back. So a lot of resilience and a lot of experience. And for Shesterkin, that's 2-7 wins. Kind of feels like this guy, doesn't it? So, yeah, I mean, things are pretty good for the Rangers, even though they just lose last night. They're out in 6 games against Tampa Bay Lightning. So for the New York Rangers, honestly, their regular season numbers were very good. Their playoff numbers excellent as well. And I think there were a couple of really good storylines out of this. First off, Lafreniere's not on the board, but I think he took that next step forward. I would expect a minimum of 55 points out of him next year, probably higher than that. And Mika Zibanejad really hit that next level too. 10 goals, 14 assists, 24 points. And the way he was blasting shots from the same spot as Ovechkin has his entire career has me thinking Zibanejad, if he can do that next year regularly, he could hit the 40 goal mark. So after what was an up and down regular season, Zibanejad had a fantastic playoffs. Adam Fox was excellent as well. 5 goals, 18 assists, 23 points. Chris Kreider, 10 goals, 6 assists for 16 points for Kreider. Panarin, 6 goals, 10 assists, 16 points. Panarin had kind of an up and down playoffs. I thought he was great at some spots and kind of invisible in other games, but honestly, pretty good run. And Andrew Kopp made a very good impression in New York. 6 goals, 8 assists during their run. And so we'll see whether or not they keep Kopp around. Their playoff goaltending was nothing short of phenomenal. Now, Igor gets chased a couple of times by Pittsburgh, but he still ends up 10-9 with a 929 save percentage. Georgiev did come in and relief those couple of times. Ends up 0-1 with a 935 save percentage over those 2 games that he appeared in. So their goaltending is pretty solid. There's the possibility, maybe even probability, Georgiev doesn't come back next year. But their goaltending's in good hands with Shesterkin. This is a team that's gone from Lundqvist to Shesterkin, and Lundqvist comes in not that long after Richter was gone. So Rangers goaltending, generally speaking, has been very good for them. Regular season leaders, Panarin, 22 goals, 74 assists, 96 points. See, you know where the kitten is because you look where Bear's looking. Zibanejad, 29 goals, 52 assists, 81 points for him. And again, Panarin was great during the regular season. I didn't think he was as dominant in the playoffs. And I would say the opposite with Zibanejad. He became the dominant player in the playoffs. Kreider, 52 goals, 25 assists, 77 points. Chris Kreider, fantastic season all around. The 10 goals in the playoffs, he ends up in a tie. I think he's still tied with Rod Gilbert for the all-time goal scoring amongst playoffs, in the playoffs for New York Rangers in their career. There you go. And then you've got Fox, 11 goals, 63 assists, 74 points. Fox is just a fantastic talent. And Ryan Strome, 21 goals, 33 assists, 54 points. And yet, Strome may find himself priced out of their price range, as it were. The regular season goaltending, Shesterkin was great again there. 36, 13, and 4, 935 save percentage. Georgiev, 15, 10, and 2 with an 898 save percentage. So the overall numbers for the New York Rangers are excellent. This is a team that absolutely should be back next year. They're pending UFAs. You've got Andrew Kopp. I think they find a way to keep him. You've got Greg McKegg, depth player. If they decide to keep him, he can stick around if he decides he wants to. Well, again, that'll be a league minimum contract, right? Tyler Mott, I think, played well. I don't know if he played well enough after returning from injury to necessarily mean the Rangers are going to do their best to keep him, or if he goes to the market. I'm guessing he probably goes to the market. Vancouver would definitely be interested, I would think, in bringing him back if he does hit the market. Rooney, very good appearances for Rooney again in relief when other guys get hurt. Strome, good season for him overall. But the playoffs was a little bit of a different story for him. Only the 2 goals in the playoffs, and of course he was hurt too at the end of it there. Frank Vatrano had a very good run with the Rangers as well. I would expect Vatrano to they'll try to find a way to sign him. And Braun, I don't know if they try to keep Braun. They have $13.4 million in cap space. And so if they decide to keep Kopp, you've got to think there's a $3.64 million cap hit for him. What, $4 million? So that would take it down to 9.4. They're restricted free agents. You've got Kakko, who was a healthy scratch last night. To my surprise, only because Strome clearly wasn't good enough, in good enough health to play. Georgiev, who again, $2.65 million, I believe, was his cap hit this year. We'll see whether or not Georgiev comes back. Gauthier, depth player. Blais, sadly, they didn't see very much of Blais. I would think they try to keep him around, but would I be that surprised if he ends up on the UFA market? Not really. Wouldn't be entirely surprised if that ends up being the situation. So for the New York Rangers, again, it feels like this is the culmination of what I've talked about for years. I've been a big fan of the team they've got put together, and I think that it's a good mix of veterans and young players, and there's no reason to think this team can't be one of the best teams next year. Again, I picked them. I think I picked them to finish first in their division this year. They didn't, but they were close. 2013, in the second round, they lost against Boston in 5 games. 2014, they go all the way to the Stanley Cup final. They lost against the LA Kings in 5 games. 2015, they get all the way to the conference final. They lost in 7 against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So Tampa Bay in conference finals, they'll want to avoid them next time. I don't know how much longer Tampa Bay can go. Eventually, a team has to fall back to earth, right? 2016, they lost in the first round in 5 games against Pittsburgh. 2017, they lost in the second round in 6 games against Ottawa. 2018 and 2019, they don't make the playoffs. And of course, famously, that's when they tell their fan base, hey, so we're doing a reset, right? In 2020, they made it into the qualifying round where they lost in 3 straight against Carolina. The odd thing that year was they handled Carolina quite easily during the regular season, and then in the postseason, in that qualifying round, they get swept. 2021, no playoffs for them that year. Now, 2021's when they clean house at the top, and I still think that's weird because the Rangers were a very good team that would have made the playoffs in another division, but that East was stacked. That was the division of death, and so they didn't make the playoffs last year. I think they were one of the best teams that didn't make the playoffs last year. And in 2022, this year, they lose in the conference final. So, conference final, the farthest they've been in 7 years. 1 step away from the final that they haven't been to since 2014. I do think they're going to end up back in a final soon. And whether or not they win it or not, I think with Igor Shesterkin in net, what we've seen is they're always going to be in it. Tampa Bay was dominant those last 3 games. They had so many shot opportunities, and if you look at high danger chances, it was ridiculous. Igor kept it close. And as long as you have an elite goaltender, and Igor is seen as the landslide favorite for the Vezina, and I haven't seen somebody that dominant and that most likely to win Vezina since Hasek. It reminds me of the Hasek era. So, yeah, I think while Lundqvist is a legend in New York, I think Shesterkin will be equal to that legend by the time his career's done, and there might be a Stanley Cup ring there as well. So, yeah, we'll see how they handle that $13.4 million in cap space. Again, with the players they have to sign, odds are they won't be major players on the free agent market, but maybe they bring a couple of guys in on cheaper contracts. And now that they're a team that's on the rise, it gets a little easier to bring guys in, even though with New York, MSG, and the amount of just the amount of reverence that MSG has, probably isn't all that hard to convince guys to come to the New York Rangers. So anyways, there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, whether or not you think the Rangers can get back to this again, or if this was a one-off. Again, I've believed in this team for years, and finally they reward me with that belief by breaking my bracket. The only series that broke my bracket is Carolina Rangers. Every other series I had right. So other than that, yeah, I mean, we'll see how things go from here. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, again, as long as they've got Shesterkin in net, these guys have a chance. They're going to be in the hunt every year. But let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.